What you're about to hear is the eulogy that I delivered for my mother, Susan Hawkings, in December of 2010 at All Saints Church in Bay Head, New Jersey. My mother died on December 13th of that year, and her funeral was about a week later. About 250 people were there, including her husband and my father, Mark Hawkings, my sister, Parrish Ryan, and her husband, Dudley Ryan, my wife, Betsy, and her grandchildren, Rin Ryan, Harry Hawkings, and Charlie Hawkings. Well, here's something I never thought I'd see. A room filled with a couple of hundred people, and all of them people that my mother actually liked. Or at least, most of you. Susan Hawkings was an amazing collection of contradictions. She was proud of and fiercely loyal to my dad and Parrish and me, and, more recently, Dudley and Betsy and her 3 grandchildren. But her fierce had 2 faces. So many times we would hear her distinguish between her adoration and her anger by telling us, "I will always love you, but I don't ever have to like you." And so many times she'd come to our defense by warning others, "You can't screw with my family. Only I get to screw with my family." She described herself as her own best friend and insisted that she liked nothing better than to be alone, reading a book in the quiet of her house. But she reveled in the companionship of many, many people and loved the summertime cacophony around her swimming pool, especially if the swimmers had something interesting to say, or even better, had some gossip or misbehavior to report. Information that would qualify them for what she called her pool points. She claimed to embrace the Victorian maxim that children are to be seen, but not heard. But so much of her happiness was sustained by much younger people, my friends and my sisters most of all. She played long afternoons of Tripoli with them when they were children, spent long nights on our porch with them when they were adolescents, and then starting their careers, and then their families. She was fascinated by what they thought about the world, about their loves and their worries and their ambitions. And she was thrilled that our friends rarely shied away from engaging and arguing about the topics you're not supposed to touch in polite company, especially her 3 favorites: politics, sex, and religion. She sounded unquestioningly confident in all of her opinions, from the proper choice for president to the proper choice somebody else should make about something as trivial as what to have for dessert. That's why she was dubbed the Silver Tongue around town, not only because she was so articulate, but also because her rhetoric could stab you when you least expected it. Still, she was insatiably curious and eager to learn how the world was changing around her and about the ways others saw the world. Yes, she grilled everyone and all the time, and she almost always started her inquisitions the same way. "I have a very simple question. Why?" But she was genuinely interested in the answers, especially when they came from people willing to rise to her rhetorical bait. She was an unwavering political conservative. That was clear to me since she pinned to my sister's baby carriage a campaign button proclaiming, "If I were 21, I'd vote for Goldwater." But she was an ahead-of-the-curve liberal in many of her social views. She was a committed environmentalist and an animal rights champion. She supported a woman's right to choose and embraced those who chose to be single mothers. And she was clear-cut in the view that the gender of people we fall in love with is inherent to our being, not a cavalier lifestyle choice. She was emphatic about honesty. She viewed right and wrong as absolutes. And so she couldn't wait for a store clerk or a customer service agent to make a mistake, either by charging her too much or, even worse, not enough. But she also embraced a good fib. When Prince Charles and Lady Diana got married, she persuaded the local paper to report that Dad had marked the occasion by posting sentry outside the Mount Street house in Bay Head, in his full-dress Grenadier Guard, bearskin, and red tunic. She insisted on respect for authority, but she refused to obey the local police's evacuation orders during any hurricane. She put enormous stock in sending us to good schools and endorsing whatever they said was best for her kids. But she thought nothing of wearing radio headphones into her parent-teacher conferences during the 1973 World Series. She was attracted to institutions that performed at a consistently high level, and yet she hated the New York Yankees most of all. And she loved the Brooklyn Dodgers, the boys of summer from the 1950s, and those amazing Mets from 1969, way more than the rich corporate Met teams designed to dominate the National League in more recent decades. She wanted the facts and insisted on precision and punctuality, and yet her favorite Met slogan was all about faith. You gotta believe. And her favorite Met moment, celebrated on her vanity license plate, was among the sloppiest and least predictable in sports history. Mookie Wilson's slow grounder through Bill Buckner's legs that turned the tide of the '86 series. She was a steadfast cheerleader for my father in his career, but she almost cost him his best job when they went to the new boss's house for dinner one night, which ended up with her accusing him, the boss, of cheating at backgammon. She was proud of her Mayflower roots and her quintessentially waspy pedigree, but she disdained phony snobbishness and cultivated an egalitarian crowd, while her flamboyance and somewhat tyrannical behavior earned her another nickname, Leona. She would never have used that little people put-down that made infamous the Helmsley Hotel Empress. She relished routines, insisting that good order and discipline were key to weathering life's sucker punches. It's why she found happiness in brushing her teeth 4 times a day, cooking the same 4 breakfasts in a never-ending rotation, visiting the food town 364 days a year, planting the same tomato crop every spring, heading to London every fall, and flying to the same tiny Caribbean island every winter. But she was undeniably capable of a very different life. There's no doubt in my mind that had she been born in 1943 or 1953 instead of 1933, she could have ended up as a partner in the family firm, which might have become known as Murphy, Marsalis, Smith, and Hawkings. Or as a reporter who beat her son to every scoop. Or as a teacher as charismatic and beloved as her daughter. She hated having her picture taken, declaring herself not photogenic. But she cherished the nickname of her teenage years, the Golden Girl. And she adored being on the center stage, from her star turn in Antigone in college to her central role in starting so many arguments and so much laughter in our lives. She did not drink, but her personality was as complex, intoxicating, and addictive as the best of drinks. And then the final contradiction. She was an agnostic, and yet insisted on a church funeral. And so, here we are.
Mark, all the way to the left. Mark.
Wait a minute, sweetie. Which one is it?
All the way to the left.
Okay, darling, it's done. Let me do this.
Well, how come it's on? No, it's not done.
Off.
You sure it's off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to sit out there and Dr. Dudley for a moment. It's off.